Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
everyone. I'm calling the Board of Selectmen meeting to order. What is the date? June 9th, at 6 p.m. We will go to the approval of the May 26th Selectmen meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Oh, we don't have to.
It's
Don't have
easy.
to-
It's easy,
It's a
isn't
little
it?
easier, yeah.
Public forum. This is an opportunity for anyone who wants to address the Board of Selectmen with an issue that is not on the agenda.
Tim?
Hi, my name's Tim Spang. I'm a resident, a voter, and a business owner in town. And I'm here tonight hoping that the Board of Selectmen will reconsider and rethink about working with the contractors of Kennebunkport about the new parking. You know, it's not new, there's been an ordinance there, but it's being enforced. And I first heard about this through some of my workers and other business people in town. And, you know, I did watch the May 26th meeting, and, you know, it was said, oh, well, people ought to be here. Well, everybody's working about 26 hours a day, 8 days a week. At least I know all these guys are. And, you know, I'd love to ask the chief, or if, who's here on the police, has there been accidents about this? You know, how did this come about to be spent 15 minutes on it, and now all of us contractors have to really think about, you know, how to get to our jobs? Because our jobs are, you know, they're moving vehicles, and we have to put them someplace. And I'd love to ask, you know, how many accidents, you know, injuries have happened because of this?
Well, Tim, I don't have any statistics. I don't think the board does, but I'll tell you how this came about. It's kicked around for the 9 years I've been on the board. We've had people come to us and complain about vehicles in the road and on sidewalks. And back in about February, I'd say, the Goose Rocks Beach Advisory Committee came up with a list of about 25 things that they wanted to see happen in the Goose Rocks area for safety and traffic, etc. And I managed to get them to whittle it down to about 6. And those came here before the board. And the number one was contractor and landscaping parking in non-designated areas in Goose Rocks and in the roads. And as you know, the roads are narrow down there, so it was a big issue. So we brought it here to the Board of Selectmen, and at that time, there were other members in the audience from around town who also asked for this to be town-wide. You know, basically the argument is, these are the ordinances, why are you not enforcing them? You know, it is. I don't want anybody in the audience tonight to think that the Board of Selectmen just woke up one day and said, well, we're out to get all of you, because that's not how this happened. This happened because Tim, you were on this board, you know, there are ordinances, and the Board of Selectmen as a body does not get to change those ordinances. Only the voters of the town change those. Now, the Board of Selectmen bring them forth and work them through before they get to the ballot. But, you know, as a member of this board, I don't get to decide, or none of us really get to decide whether the ordinances are we're not supposed to decide whether they're enforced or not. And that's what had happened over the years. Nobody had enforced the ordinances. And when several members of the community came forth and said, why don't you? You know, we had a discussion of it. And then it was brought to our attention a few weeks later that in certain areas the school buses couldn't get through. And that's when we had a public hearing for Langsford Road at this particular juncture to initiate no parking on one side of the road. And it was decided at that time we were either going to not have an ordinance, we weren't going to do that, or there was going to be no, you know, we'd have to enforce our ordinances or not create any new no parking. And that's where we are today.
Yeah, because it just seems though is we got to try to work together.
Yeah,
You know, as far as because what I'm heard is there's no accidents. You know,
Yeah.
what I mean, I've never heard of anybody being run over, cars being hit. Because how I see it is, you know, it's like the South Main Street out by the old the backside of Ocean Ave. I mean, somebody drives the speed limit there, you're gonna get yelled at the whole way you're driving on it. Because of the walkers with dogs, and they're gonna yell at you. I mean, I'm on that road 10 times a day. I go 15 miles an hour, wave at everybody, and I've learned to be a little patient. And I think if we looked at it that way, because every road is, you know, there's narrow roads in this town, but every road, that my 2 Macs can pass on it. It's simple.
Pat,
And-
or something?
Yeah, excuse me, Tim. One of the town's people came forward during the process and said, my concern is the road going to their house was such that the ambulance could not get down there to get her husband to take him to the hospital. Now, that's not an accident, but if you're the family that's involved, you're very, very concerned about what's going on. I think the accommodation needs to be found. However, you got to realize we're not waiting for the first accident. We're not waiting for the first person to be injured or killed. That's not how you do ordinances. We try to prevent problems. And so we have people coming forward showing us where this is an issue. Fire trucks can't get by. So however it's worked out, there's got to be a way. I understand your needs. But the people who live here also brought forth their concerns. And that's why we reacted.
Oh, yeah. It's just a matter of, like I said, I watched the meeting. It took all of like 10 or 15 minutes. You know, now we're all here, and I only heard from one guy today. And, you know, we're all just trying to you know, I bet you, I haven't even talked to except for one person here. I'm sure we want to figure this out. There's a way to where, because what happens if I what's that? Good. The one thing is what happens when, you know, at 25 Pier Road, I built a house there, and I had to, you know, have cement mixers on the road. I had to have a pump truck on the road. I had flaggers. And after that, I was upset because I drove around town. Nobody else had to have flaggers. The police made me have flaggers. It was a dangerous spot. I'd get them every time. I mean, have my men out there and do it the exact proper way to do flagging. You know, is that acceptable through the police department right now in this ordinance? And I'd like to ask the police officer.
So the police officer's not here to answer those questions. The chief of police is on Zoom if they want, or the board is here to
I
discuss
meant to
it.
ask the chief, actually, but he wasn't here. He's on Zoom. I'd love to ask the chief, you know, if I have to spend, or a tree company has to take a tree down in the road, you know, is he just, wait a minute, nope, you're going to get a $25 ticket if you sit in that road. You know, what's the solution for that, chief? I'd love to hear that.
Tim?
I wanted to say something.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
The situation was, it came up at a meeting, and I didn't agree with enforcing the ordinances. I mean, going slam dunk, and, you know, next day it's this. So I spent the better part of 3 days driving around the town.
I listened to you tonight.
I did it.
I watched.
And I went to every street in the town. Some of them I went twice, some of them I went 3 times, but I spent the better part of 3 days doing it. My concern, what I was looking for, was not necessarily parked in the wrong areas and things like, as far as the no parking areas versus parking areas. My concern was, and all of you out there know this, and is that when you're parking and you're parking on a sidewalk, you're forcing, there were 2 that were parked on School Street, on almost the corner of Main Street, parked off the road but blocking the sidewalk so that the kids coming down from Consolidated School, if they came down, were going to have to walk around. There were 2 there. So I went around other places, and I was over on Ocean. I didn't confront anybody. My whole thing was not to stop and confront. I took pictures, but I didn't confront anybody. And over on Ocean Avenue, it was the same way. It was parked so that we were blocking the bike path or the walking path. So anybody who was walking or riding there had to go around it. It was the same way in almost every. There was a couple on Kings Highway at Goose Rocks Beach, one of those big trailers, parked on 2 parking spots, legal spots. Don't get me wrong, legal spot, but because it was so big, it was out into the road. But my concern was not, is that I think the parking thing can be worked out, but I think that what we've got to have is we just can't park on those places that are designated walking areas, bike riding areas, and even on a crosswalk. You can't do that.
Oh, I think we
yeah.
can, I'm sure these,
So-
we're all,
yeah.
you know, ready to talk about that.
But
Because we should get ticketed. I mean, somebody
But
parks on the
these-
sidewalk, that's what the police are
These
for.
were at least 8 or 9 instances in the 3 days, where the ones that bothered me the most were the kids getting out of school at Consolidated School, and we got, one guy was left there parked on the side, across the sidewalk, off the road, but blocking the sidewalk. And I just think that that's a bad situation. Now, when I went over to Goose Rocks on some of the back streets, there was one that was parked almost completely blocking one of the, don't remember whether it was Belvedere or which one it was, but it was almost completely blocking the street. There would be no way that a fire truck or an emergency vehicle could get down, you know? And the other thing that I said at the meeting is, nobody wants to put anybody out of business. That's not what we intend to do. And that's not the intent of any of this, is to put anybody out of business. But I think that if we smarten up a little bit and follow the basic rules that are in the ordinance, it'll work out. And the other thing I wanted to point out was, there were a lot of people parked in the correct parking places. I mean, there were people that were not violating anything that's in the ordinance. As far as they were concerned, they weren't violating anything anyway, because they hadn't been enforced. But there were people that were parked in the right spots, even contracted vehicles. And there's some that weren't. So I think it can be worked out somehow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd like Chief to answer that question.
Yep.
So, good evening, everybody.
I think Becky
Mr.
is-
Spang, to answer your question about the cement mixers and things of that nature, if you're working, I've been in long discussions with the Department of Labor in reference to all of this, and working in and around the roadway, you're supposed to follow the Manual of Uniform Traffic Direction and Control. And a lot of those specifically, you know, there's signs that need to be put out. You'll see them in areas that people are working. And, you know, if you're going to be doing something like that, big trucks and things of that nature, you're supposed to be following that, the Manual of Uniform Traffic Direction and Control. So, you know, for them to ask for you to have flaggers, if you had cement mixers and things of that nature out there, that was appropriate. And I've done that before. You know, I know this is a passionate thing, and, you know, we're trying to make notice here. And I've got to tell you, just handing out 4 or 5 days of notices, a lot of folks have started to improve already. And I've driven around, and there's already a huge improvement. So again, I think people are taking it to the extreme. You're still going to be able to do work. Tree work needs to get done. Sidewalk work needs to get done. But we also have to follow, you know, safety protocols. And our ordinances are in addition to already, you know, safety protocols that are out there. And the state ultimately has a state law that says you can't obstruct the public way, and that's a criminal charge, which we don't want to charge anybody criminally for this. That's the extreme, but the state already has a law on the books for obstructing a public way. And these ordinances are similar to that, and they're just, you know, lesser things. And again, I think, you know, with a little bit of work, and we're going to have to look at every situation differently and talk to folks. It's not going to be an automatic situation where we're going to get out and give a ticket. But, you know, I've been down there several times where folks are parked right across from each other, and I couldn't even squeeze a cruiser through. And it's you know, there's got to be some common sense, that's all.
And how would it work, you know, with that? Say if, you know, because I agree with you. You know, we can all be smarter. Some of us have been stupid. I can admit it myself. I know I've parked on Main Street, right on the sidewalk, and it won't happen anymore. And but how about if the landscapers? I'm actually concerned about the landscapers more than me. I mean, I'll get through this. We got to be smart. But, how about the landscaper has 2-foot cones behind his, you know, I don't have the state stuff in front of me, chief, is just, you know, how about the landscaper has cones on both sides? You know, is that enough, or we have to?
But
we
I
have to,
can't tell you that,
put out
that would be
signs
enough,
of
sir,
one-way,
because I'll be honest with you, if he's parked on a hill
You know,
or a
like we have
curve,
signs
that's
to-
not
to
enough.
help
You
us when we
can't,
do-
you know,
do
because it's
flaggers and
blind
stuff.
for somebody to come up behind that person. So you gotta look at every situation differently and take a look. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of folks don't even take the time to move over. So, because they don't wanna screw the lawn up that they're working on, but, or take the time to back into a driveway. And, you know, like I said, I've seen huge improvement over the last 5 days already. And, you know, a lot of folks are changing their ways already. And, it's a huge improvement.
Yeah. Let me look through my notes. We've talked about a lot of stuff that I probably was gonna say. You know, so is there a chance that we can talk about, you know, is it just that we have to get together and change the ordinance even to, you know, change things the way it is? Or can we work with you guys to come up with a solution? You know, because
Yeah.
that's the part I came up tonight. I was all ready because I watched the May 26th meeting, and if you watch that, it's kind of frustrating. I want to thank Sheila and Alan at least for sticking up for us. And everybody else, I know you got concerns. It ain't like you're just saying, you know, forget about us. But you know, where do we move from here?
Well, one of the things I suggested at the last meeting, if you watched the meeting.
Yep.
I asked the question. I said, would you like to amend the ordinance? And I didn't get anybody to speak up to say, yeah, we'll amend the ordinance. I think the thing, you know, if you go look at the ordinance and you take a look at it, we've got ordinances in there for pedicabs, we've got ordinances in there for trolleys, we've got ordinances in there for horses, I think. And so why can't we amend the ordinances to accommodate good practice, landscaping or construction vehicles or whatever? Good practice, I'm talking about. And the other one would be, the concern about that one is that takes an ordinance, revision, and then it has to go to all of the voters.
Yep.
Okay, so, which is the right way.
Yep.
So that's a suggestion that was made. Yep.
You still voted for it.
I did, because I was really concerned about what was happening on School Street. I can't believe that we would park a landscaping vehicle with a trailer across and blocking the entire sidewalk where kids come out of a consolidated school. I can't believe it. That happened. That
Yeah.
happened.
And right, like I said, I've admitted that I've done stupid stuff out there. But you know, I'm just hoping tonight that we can, you know, work together and we actually start coming up with a solution to where if, you know, even with, because I have written down here to talk with the chief of police, the chief of the fire department, to talk to them to come up with if we, you know, do we have to have a small sign that a lot of us have to put behind our vehicles? And if we're only there for an hour, you know, we make sure that we're half pulled off and there's cones there. And, you know, we satisfy so the police, you know, we're working with it. That's all I'm hoping for, is that I know we got to come up with I know there's a problem, because I do drive around times and catch my own men full in the the one street right on the line, you know, and they're knuckleheads. But I think, you know, we all want to come up with something so that we don't have to
we
raise
do-
our prices.
we do
Try
too.
to hire more men.
Well, we do too. That was
Yep.
one of the early discussions, and we do too. I think we're accomplishing some of the things that we wanted to accomplish.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to everybody in the audience this evening that I did vote for this to enforce the ordinance, but I don't want you to think that I voted to put anybody out of business or, you know, this was directed at anyone in particular. But you're all here tonight because I want any of you to raise your hand to tell me that there wasn't a problem before this, that everybody was doing everything the way they were supposed to, and you've never seen a landscaping vehicle or any vehicle parked in an unsafe or inappropriate manner. If you can say that, raise your hand. Okay, so I want to tell you that I want to work with you because I'm self-employed. You know, I happen to work on the ocean, but we have our own issues out there. But I don't want any of you to feel as though the Board of Selectmen are, you know, out to get you because, you know, I grew up in this town And, you know, my family all worked for a living just as you do, and I have a great deal of respect for you for that reason, because I know it's not easy to be self-employed. But I'm willing to do what it takes to make some compromise. We're not gonna go back to laissez-faire, parking everywhere and parking however we want, because the voters of Kennebunkport just aren't gonna stand for that. But I do think there's compromise out there to be had, and I wanna thank you, Tim, because I think the things that you said tonight were, you know, very poignant, and I think that if we work together and we recognize there's a problem, you know, we can come up with some workable solutions. Do you agree? Please.
I think, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I think a lot of the frustrations is, and I don't know who brought these up in terms of residents of the town, but I think before things were voted on, a way to go about it would to have been to get a group of business owners that are the ones that are parking illegally or whatever, and ask them first, instead of just listening to what it seems from our side is just a few people that live in town and get irritated, like on Langsford Road. I mean, those people, a lot of them did not live there their whole life. They have bought homes and have now moved here. Apart from what Mike is saying on School Street, I mean, that's horrible. Things shouldn't happen on a school area, but it just seems kind of like people were complaining, and we didn't bring everyone together at first, and now we're in this position. People were getting warned. It didn't seem like it was going to be a group effort from the beginning, and I think that could have avoided some irritation with everyone. And I'm running for school board, so I think that
Would you
it's
introduce yourself, please?
Okay, I'm Jamison Spang Davis, Tim's daughter. Grew up here, went to school here. So I guess just from my perspective, I think it's important before we try and get these ordinances in is to work together as a group to see what everyone's concerns are. Because I think everyone here would like lay their life on the line for a kid. So it's not like we're trying to do those things and like don't want to block someone from going to the hospital. But there are roads where you literally cannot pull into someone's driveway to mow their lawn, or like we work in places where we have 7 vehicles show up and it just is what it is. So from my perspective, I think that as a board, that should be the way we go about these things that really directly impact local people, is like, let's talk about it before. And maybe you did, but it just doesn't seem that way because almost everyone here got pissed off about this when it just was like all of a sudden the ordinance is going to be put into place. So
The
that would
ordinance
just be-
wasn't all of a sudden put into place.
but
The ordinance was
enforced,
there.
sorry,
yeah.
enforced. It was all of a
Yeah,
sudden
yeah,
enforced
yeah.
because, I mean,
No, it wasn't going to be all of a sudden either. It was going to be 30 days, and then it was, the original plan was 30 days, and then it was just giving people notices and so forth and warnings, and then we were estimating it would be 60 days before it would be implemented. So there'd be plenty of time for discussion, et cetera, and I know people were pissed off, and I know that, but there would have been plenty of time for discussion, and that's what we intended,
okay.
yeah.
I have to go with that now, but.
May I,
Yeah.
may I speak?
Yes, go
Yes.
ahead.
Hi, I'm Mark Ald.
Yep.
Live on 15 Walker's Lane. I own an old building company. I've known Tim Spang, I don't know, a couple months. But anyway, I'm also a lieutenant firefighter here, Kennebunkport, Port Village. I run out of here for the past 20 years. And I run vehicles, our engine apparatus, when the tone goes out, and I'm available because I own my own building company. And Mike Perkins, George Burr, and a lot of others. Do you think maybe like a committee, like a task force? I mean, I'm not, what do you think? Like something like a committee where we all get together and say, don't mess us up, or what are your thoughts on that matter?
I don't see anything preventing us from getting together. You know, if you have a group,
Yeah.
we could get together with the police. I'm willing to work with you.
Yeah, and like I
And
said, I'm a
come up
lieutenant
with-
firefighter here, so,
You
I
know,
mean,
with
I've
some
never had,
reasonable-
I never had much of a problem, even though I'm a builder as well, and I've never had a problem driving any apparatus around town. I mean, a couple situations, but it's very, very minute. After 20-something years serving with Kennebunkport. And I get $16.78 as a lieutenant. I don't do it for the money, I do it to give back to the town. So, all those years I've done it, Never had, it's been very minute that I've had a problem. Driving our apparatus around town. I'm not gonna speak on behalf of PD. I'm just talking about the fire department side. But yes, I think if maybe, Tim, what do you think? Should we get a group together and it's just like a task force or something where we all get together, George Burr, Mike Perkins, we all get together and be like, if we see each one of them messing up, say, come on.
I don't want to cast aspersions, but I got the feeling that the people that are causing the most problems aren't in the audience this evening.
Well, yeah.
And I don't know that, but, you know, I've been to enough meetings in my day to see that, you know, the people who care are the people who show up, and they're usually the ones who do the right thing.
And we're the ones that paying our tax dollars and we own property here and
Correct.
we are hiring and employing people in our community. So the ones that are messing up, maybe we could,
Well,
I
they're
don't
the
know.
ones that are probably gonna get the tickets.
Well, in a conversation
So
with
we get
somebody.
excluded?
Yeah, but I've had a conversation with several members of the audience about this, and one of them pretty well summed it up, and I won't call them out, but it said, you know, we all used to work together, this wasn't a problem, and now there are landscapers, and it seems to be, and I'm not picking on those of you who do landscaping, it seems to be that is where the real issues are, the big trailers and et cetera. But, you know, there used to just be a few of us, and now there's so many. And, you know, it's the proliferation of vehicles. I don't travel that far. I mean, I go from my house on Main Street to the pier and then go to Kennebunk up Old Cape Road, and not a day goes by when I don't see a vehicle parked in the middle of the road. And that is, if I'm seeing it in my short travels, you know, it's problematic. But again, I don't think it's something that we can't resolve one way or the other. But
Plus the other people that are coming into our community, we can't really police them.
well, we can. I mean, if we
No,
have,
you guys
if you
can.
have people who are not, you know, abiding by the ordinances and are having unsafe
So basically, I could
practices,
go, I
yeah,
could
we're
go
not
knock
gonna-
on their window and be like, seriously?
Well, but I mean, is if somebody's parked in the middle of the road and they happen to be a construction vehicle or a landscape vehicle, et cetera, from out of town, you know, we're not gonna treat them any different than we would anyone else.
Right, so if I find somebody and I knock on their door and be like, seriously? Or there's two landscape vehicles or two
Yeah.
construction companies parked, blocking the entire road where I can't get my apparatus through.
But we have town meeting and we're gonna, the board will change a little bit here in the next month. So I would suggest that sometime in July or early August, we move on with this. And I'm happy to sit down with you. I'm sure Mike is as well. You know, any of us that are here. But in the meantime, you know, speak to your cohorts, your employees, and you just make them aware. If you want to speak, you're welcome to. You've got to go to the microphone though, so people at home can hear you. You know, we're welcome. You know, work with us, and we can work with you. This was
Absolutely.
not this wasn't a let's go get you kind of thing. The decision was put to us, and we had to make a decision.
Absolutely, but you see how it affected,
I do. But if we had made a different decision, then we would have been in violation
so we can
of our
work
own
through this.
ordinance.
I think collaboratively, we can all work through this.
Yes, and we can talk this to death tonight, but this really isn't the place to solve it. I would say that the turnout tonight speaks volumes, and I would thank each and every one of you for coming out and taking the time, you know, away from your business and your family for coming out to be here tonight.
The one thing I'd like to say is that you've said it several times about the 30 days and the 60 days, and it was said on the meeting of May 26th. From what I heard from people, that's not happening. And I could ask the chief if that's what is happening, but I've been told, it hasn't happened to me, so I can't, I just want to ask the chief is it, because I've been told by some of my men, some of the guys in the community, that you got one warning and you're getting a ticket next. As far as, you know, how is it working? Are we gonna, you know, do we have a 30-day grace period to where we can, you know, show that we can make a difference and come in here after the board changes and, you know, come up with some solutions so that we can work with you, you know, we can work with the town, not you guys, it's us and our community. But I'd like to ask the chief, is that 30, 60-day thing being done?
Nobody has received a citation yet, sir, even though somebody could for something other than the landscaping thing. I don't want to mix apples and oranges here. We've already seen positive change with just 5 days. We're going to hand them out for another 30 days. And, I'm in hopes that we won't have to give anybody a ticket for anything because people are already doing what they're supposed to be doing. We did discuss the 30 and 60 days. Again, I have not instructed anybody to give any tickets or anything yet. We're handing out the notices and people are already making adjustments. We've already had positive change. So again, I think a mountain is being made out of a molehill because the folks that have gotten the notices have already changed their ways and are actually making adjustments. So it's all good. It's positive.
Thanks, chief.
I think Mike had a question or comment.
All set.
You all set?
Okay. Yeah. Please.
Yeah.
Something totally different.
Perfect.
My name is Mike Kelly. 22 years ago, I got permits to put up a barn. And I had it, and the specs were it had to be 50 foot because of my right-of-way. And the corner of my barn is 51 foot, and the backside is probably 60. But I did not know, or there was an additional 20-foot easement off the right-of-way. And what I'm looking for today is a signed notarized letter of no action. Says we're trying to sell the house and we can't because we're in violation, I guess.
Is this one
This is not on the agenda. No. And so I did email you the information regarding 133 Arundel Road. I don't know if Warner wants to come up and speak to it, but Mr. Kelly's real estate agent made me aware on Tuesday of this week about the situation involving his house. And Werner, do you feel good to summarize what's the story?
Good evening. So I did take a look at the property file, and it does appear that from the information that's been provided to us that the garage that was built in 2000 does not appear to meet the requisite 20-foot setback from the right-of-way that encumbers the Kelly's property. There was a building permit issued for for that garage, and so it was constructed with a permit. If the board is interested in discussing the possibility of going through a consent, then I'm happy to go over the rest of that evidence with town council and come forward with a proposal.
I think that would be more appropriate.
Yeah, I think so too. Looking at the documentation, the guy, he built his garage with a full permit and with all the dimensions except this one, and unknowing, I guess, and it's been 20 or 22 years, so I think we should give some kind of consent.
I agree.
I'm fine with that. The only question that I have is, we've done this before, and this isn't the first time we've seen it. And I want to make sure that we're consistent. I'm fine for signing off and having them pay all the legal fees to do so. But we have fined people in the past for this.
Do we need legal assistance in this?
We do need legal assistance to at least review the consent agreement and develop it. And so I offered to the Kellys that if the board was so inclined, they could either develop an agreement or we could have our attorney do it.
Yeah, I think that's the next step.
So what I understand is the board is inclined to consider a consent agreement at your next agenda, with the understanding that the Kellys would cover the cost of our legal fees.
Yeah, that's good.
Is that okay with you?
That's fine.
Okay.
So
Lori,
that
does
was
that-
a motion?
The only question I have, and again, this is just to be consistent as we have moved forward, because we've seen several of these in my tenure here, which is everybody else's tenure as well. And if we do impose a fee, I would not want it to be onerous, but we have charged $1,000 fee for violation.
We have when we've seen some error. I'll let Werner speak to that.
Okay, and if there is no, if you think that this is consistent with the others, Warner, I'm fine with it. I just want to see that we're not treating anybody any differently. That's all.
Sure. No, that's a fair point. I think what we've seen with, the ones that we've done over the years is that there's usually some type of discrepancy within documentation. I usually look, at these types of issues and try to see if there's any particular intent, or whether it's something that looks like it was, either an honest error, and so, and that's part of what goes into what I wind up then recommending to the board. So I don't necessarily see, just in my brief review of this, I don't necessarily see any intent here. So
As long as we're consistent, I'm fine with that. I don't like to fine people, and I don't want you to think that I want to fine you at all, but I don't want to give you a pass and then come to the next person and, yeah, absolutely.
So we got the permits, and the permit said 50 feet, so we put the barn there. I mean, if I knew there was an additional 20-foot
Oh, I'm sure you would have.
I got 4 acres, I'd put the barn
Yeah.
further back. It's been no problem.
No, we're just glad to be able to help you clean this up.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
I do
No,
appreciate
don't call me sir, I was a sergeant, I worked for a living. Sorry, Pat.
I think just a motion saying you would like to consider an agreement for the next agenda would be helpful, and that you're requesting legal fees be covered, just so it's documented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All right,
okay, thank you.
One question, so I come back next meeting?
in 2 weeks.
On June 23rd. So Werner's going to be in touch with you, and then he'll work through the legal language and with our attorney, and then we'll have it ready for June 17th, so that it'll be on the 23rd agenda.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. Yeah, you're a speaker?
My name is Jeff Dyer.
You gotta speak into the microphone,
Oh,
sir.
I don't think I can reach it. Hold on.
You can take it down.
Move it down.
That's all right. Here we go. I'm fine here. My name is Jeff Dyer. I have a landscape business solely at Goose Rocks Beach. The reason we're having such an issue here, I think, is especially with Kings Highway. We need a place to pull over, to do the lawn, and leave. They keep saying, well, go into a driveway, and you just can't do that. There's not enough room in the driveway to pull off and go in, because physically it's not big enough, and there's usually 10 cars in the driveway. So we try to do our work, and if I put the cones out, there's room for people to go around, not both ways, but to go around, and then the traffic coming the other way can go around the other way. By trying to get into a place with a trailer that you can't do is more dangerous than having it out front and just going with the traffic versus trying to back or drive in Kings Highway where it's really, really busy, in the summer. So, having a trailer and everything, I know how it works. And you get a newbie trying to drive a truck or trailer into a driveway where you can't get into anyway, could run over a kid by going one way with the traffic. Put your cones out, and they can always get by. I've been doing this for 35 years, over 35 years. We've, like Mr. Spang said, we didn't have any accidents so far. But if you try to get people to back off that road and then back into the road with all the kids on bikes and everything else, you could have an accident. You could have your first accident. That's really what just picture the middle of summer, Kings Highway specifically, I'm talking about. It's dangerous when you know what you're doing. I mean, you're backing out or backing in. There's a few seconds. What's that?
What about your hours? Is there a way?
Well,
that-
yeah,
that
what
you
we
can
try to
do
do
those
is we-
customers at a
Yes,
more
we try to,
reasonable
yeah,
time?
we try to get there early in the morning and get out before it gets busy.
I can understand people paying, they pay $200 for a parking sticker, and then they see us there taking up 2 or 3 parking areas. I could see why they would be mad. But, we try to accommodate that by getting there early and getting out, because we don't want to be there either. But it's not true. You do have room to get around on Kings Highway with one truck parked on one side of the road. It just blocks the traffic one way, not 2 ways. But trying to get a trailer out of there and into a driveway is crazy. It's ludicrous. Some kid's gonna get run over. So I think it's important, to give us a little bit of a break and let us park there and do our thing and get out, or at least a side road, just to get off the main drag. And we've never had an accident down there. Nobody's ever been run over. No kid has ever been run over, as far as I know, in all the years that I've been there. And by changing stuff and making people back in to a driveway and get back out, there's going to be an accident. So if you can consider that, in your.
Well, like you said, hopefully we can all
Yeah,
work
right,
together.
no, that's right. And we do try to, like I said, get in and get out early. And there are a few places that the driveway is big enough and there's nobody there, we'll park there. We're not parking out on the street, because we're trying to, do, something we're not supposed to do. We just gotta do it because that's the only place
Well,
that we can get out,
Yeah.
and that's all.
Like it said, we're not out to get anybody.
No, right, no, I understand.
We're definitely gonna
Yeah.
have to sit down and talk, and I'd like the chief and maybe, some other town officials to be there
Yeah.
with a group of us and talk about this, because we can talk this to death tonight, and I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I really do, but, there are many case-by-case instances here that we could discuss, but the best way to solve this is to have a little working committee
Yeah.
and talk about this.
Yeah.
We can form a committee and talk about it and come up with some reasonable solutions. I believe that,
Yeah.
Tim, you sat on this board for a while. You think we can come up with something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You sure can.
Hi, my name's Tom Roberts. My son and I have Billy Goat Landscaping in Kennebunk. I just was curious, maybe the chief knows what we can do in the near short term, like maybe putting cones out and making sure there's no one maybe right across the street if you're parking there, so it doesn't clog the road up, that type of thing, until, we can get more information on this kind of thing here, so.
Well, I think like the chief said, just being aware of this has changed people's actions. That you're more aware of how you're parking, where you're parking. I'm on your side.
I think I know where the chief's coming from now. There is more landscapes, and I think it's the weekly lawn mowing. There's somebody
Yes.
there in that spot that same time every week, and then there's someone else right behind him mowing the place next door, so that's where it's getting.
See, I looked at it as temporary kind of thing, a temporary parking, but I think sometimes what happens is you have multiple customers in the same area.
Right.
So that the 20-minute park becomes an hour and 15,
Mhm.
or an hour and a half, because you're doing, multiple areas.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if moving the vehicle will help, when you go to each customer. Something to look into.
Yeah.
Checking your hours, if you're going to be at Goose Rocks
Yeah.
Beach, is an issue.
Well, we try to get in places where there's not a lot of traffic, like Jeff was saying, early in the morning and get out, we try to schedule it that way, but
Yeah.
it doesn't always work, but,
Well, we're going to
So-
try and make it as easy on you guys. as
maybe
we
the
can.
thing to do, whereas we're working for the taxpayers here, this town, that some of that tax money ought to start going to the infrastructure, making some pull-off lanes or widening the roads. I mean, I know this is New England and everything, it's
Yeah.
gonna be a big nut to crack, but,
Difficult to do.
yeah, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on from here. All right, we're on 4, presentation of the town report.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Tim.
Thank you guys for coming.
Tim, you've got my number? Yep. Okay, reach out to me. Thank you, guys, thanks for coming. Good to see you.
Thank you for picking those chairs up.
Call me if you have questions.
Okay, I'm happy to be the presenter. This year's town report is dedicated to Bob Dennis, and I'm thrilled to be the one to do it. I've worked with Bob for many years through Kennebunkport Business Association and Christmas Prelude. Bob has always been very generous with his wonderful photos of all the festivities over the 2 weekends of this event. He has also provided photos for town events throughout the year and is happy to share it all. I do want to say, Marge, I hope he doesn't wake you up on every morning that he's out taking the sunrise. He sort of does. But I would like to read the dedication so that people can hear it. Bob Dennis is well known for his scenic photography of Kennebunkport and New England. You may have seen his work on display locally at the First Families Kennebunkport Museum, Brickstore Museum, the Nonantum Resort, Allison's Restaurant, Federal Jacks, and other local galleries and art shows. Bob's work has also appeared in several local, regional, and national publications. He has also published 3 books and 20 annual calendars featuring our beautiful town. And I think I have most of them, and I've saved them. You will find Bob at most community events, magically capturing the spirit of our town residents and visitors through his lens. Many times his photos have graced the cover of Kennebunkport's annual town report. Bob has always generously shared his photos with the town. The town of Kennebunkport truly values and appreciates Bob's talent, dedication, and generosity in sharing his work with our community.
Oh, we gotta get a picture.
For you.
Hey, we gotta get a picture.
Yeah.
So you gotta like present it to me. Let's get you outside that ugly door. I hate that picture like that. Right here. The photographer becomes the subject. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sheila, and the rest of the selectmen, and I really appreciate this unexpected and wonderful honor. I need to go out and photograph tonight's sunset, so it'll only take a few minutes of your time, although I could talk all night about how much I love Kennebunkport. I've been photographing here since the 1980s. Marjorie and I have been incredibly fortunate to be full-time residents here for the last 10 years, and every day I wake up and look out the window and say how fortunate we are to live in this beautiful town. It's beautiful not just in terms of the landscape and the seascape, but also in terms of the people that we know and love and get together with all the time. It really is a special place. I've said that all the time when I write about it in my calendars and our books, and I call it the shining light of southern Maine, and a really special place. There's so much culture, so much history, so much beauty here, and not to mention all the great people. So when I heard about this honor, I was worried that you think I'm coming to the end of the line and I won't be able to do this much longer, and hopefully that's not correct, because I wake up every day eager to get out and take new photos, and I hope to continue to do this for a number of years to come, and I really appreciate the honor. I'm so privileged and proud to be a resident of this incredibly beautiful and historic town, and thank you. I got to go see the sunset.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
And thank you, Marge.
For waking up.
Yeah.
No, in our bedroom, all the shades are up. All
the time. So you
Be
can't
careful,
sit
be careful.
Now,
there. Thank you, thank you.
Have a good evening.
night.
Good night.
We're on 5, consider a renewal liquor and special amusement license application submitted by the Seaside Hotel Associates Partnership doing business as the Nonantum.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consider a renewal liquor license application and new request for extension of license privileges submitted by the Noonan's Lobster Hut Incorporated.
So moved. Second.
We don't need to discuss the
No, this is an extension, so they're increasing their liquor license capacity to their new outdoor dining, which has gone through a planning board process.
okay. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, too.
Oh, we don't have to say that.
Not again, I hope. Never know.
And we're doing this on Zoom. Status update by Stephen Bork of Vision Government Solutions regarding the sales market analysis.
Yeah, can you bring up Becky and Steve?
That gets too cold.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, maybe.
We can hear you, we can hear you, Becky, but we can't see
Good evening,
you
folks. Can you
yet.
hear me okay?
Hold on just a second.
Okay,
There you are.
there we are.
Hi, Becky.
Hi, Steve.
How are you? Can you guys hear, everybody hear me okay?
Yes, yes,
Can the board hear me okay?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, so I will introduce Steve, even though you guys kind of did already. So my name is Becky Nolet, I'm the tax assessor, and I've been working closely with Vision Government Solutions on our market adjustment that we originally had started back prior to the pandemic and postponed, and now that we've picked it up again. Steve is our project manager, and he's gonna kind of round up anything, you know, what we've been doing, little status update, and then any questions the board or anybody might have for us to answer.
Okay, thank you, Becky. Can the board hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
I don't think you can hear us.
Okay. Thank you for having me this evening. Steve Burke is my name with Vision Government Solutions, and I'm here to give you a status update on the ongoing market adjustment that we have ongoing right now. So per the town's contract, we were contracted to inspect property sales between January 1st of 2020 and March 31st of 2022. In May, they do a fiscal year based on April 1, so we did all the sales inspections of sales up through and including March 31st. Information regarding commercial properties has been collected by the completion of income and expense forms that we send out to the local businesses. And then we use that data to compile our rental tables and our expenses and our vacancies. And that work is being completed as we speak. That information has been loaded into our database, and it's in the process of analysis as we speak. Vision's appraisers conducted a full field review of the entire town of Kennebunkport, all residential, all commercial, all exempt properties. That work was completed last month. Middle of May, we completed that, and the associated data entry has been completed. Preliminary analysis of all that data was completed by May 31st of just last month, and that information was presented to the assessor. Over the next couple of weeks, Becky will be reviewing the preliminary numbers, checking for any errors that she may come across, and the final analysis is scheduled to be completed by June 18th. And the notices of new values, they're scheduled to be mailed on June 20th, and a PDF document containing all the new values will be posted on the website per the assessor. As part of this process, informal phone reviews are scheduled to happen between June 27th and July 8th. Specific instructions on how to schedule one of these informal phone reviews will be included in the notice of new values. Once those reviews are completed, a second notice indicating whether there's a change or no change will be sent to each property owner that came in for a hearing and that requested a review. As part of that review process, any documentation the taxpayer feels is relevant to their case, such as a recent appraisal, interior, exterior photographs, or anything else they feel is pertinent to their case, can be emailed to us electronically or can be dropped off at the assessor's office. And Becky will get that information to me, and we'll work in consultation. The completion date is scheduled for July 15th, so we have a pretty tight window to get the hearings going, done, reviewed, and finalized. But, we're in good shape. I'm in constant contact with Becky. She'll tell you I return emails in about 5 seconds. So we've worked very well together over the past several months. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Any questions by the board?
I do. How are we going to, Mike Weston, how are we going to conduct these reviews?
I didn't hear you. Can you please speak up? I didn't hear.
How are we going to conduct these reviews?
The reviews, they're going to be done by phone only, right? So any information, we'll have a hearing officer. The taxpayer can make an appointment, either call our office or make an appointment online for a specific time. Our hearing officer will call them at that specified time, and then we will discuss the information that they present to us. There's approximately 15 minutes allotted per time slot. If someone needs more, then we can allow that as well. Or if someone needs multiple time slots because they've got multiple properties, we can accommodate that as well.
Well, telephone doesn't do it for me with, I know that this is going to be near and dear to a lot of people's hearts, so I know you don't want to do anything because of COVID, but why can't we do, if some people elect it, why can't we do Zoom?
Zoom would take probably, in my opinion, Zoom would be, it would probably take longer. A lot of people don't have that technology. They're not up to speed on that. So it would probably take 10 or 15 minutes for them to get up to that and to get that connected.
If the people have the option.
That's something that, we typically, in the past 2 years, since COVID hit, I've got experience in multiple states, and we've been doing them by phone only, and it's not been an issue. And, the Zoom has been requested in the past, and it wasn't something that we were able to accommodate.
Why?
But Becky had mentioned that if somebody was wanting to have an in-person meeting, that she could do that there, and I could consult with her based on that.
I don't know why you're so skittish about Zoom. If people had the options to do it, it's like, and it doesn't take any longer than it would by telephone, and it'd be a little bit more personal than a telephone.
Yeah, it's something, I'm willing to take that under advisement and see if that's something that we can put together in relatively short order. So let me, instead of saying no at this point, I'll consult with Becky after this here, and I'll consult with our IT people and see what that would entail, okay?
Okay.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough.
Why, my question is,
You gotta get really close.
okay. My question is, why can't we have a representative come here? And I know there are some people who...
Can you speak up, please? I can't hear you.
Boy, I'm as close as I can get.
Yeah, but
I'm
you gotta
eating
speak
it.
right in. You gotta be loud,
What-
Sheila.
Thank you. Do I have to press?
It's on.
Why can't we have a representative come to our town? There are ways, the size of this room, for instance, you can stay 6 feet apart. Your representative can wear a mask. This way, when somebody is coming in to talk about a property, it's a lot easier showing something face to face than it is, to try to say in the upper right-hand corner when you're on the phone. Have you discussed having a representative come?
No, when I met with Becky last month, when we were there to do the field review in May, that was a specific discussion that her and I had, was that COVID had roared back last month, and it's still here. So my question to her directly was she okay with doing phone hearings only? And her response was, absolutely not a problem. And that's how we crafted the impact notice, the value notice. And then what she had mentioned to me was if someone is insistent on having an in-person hearing, then she could take care of that, and I would work with her on that.
Makes no sense. I'm with you.
Yeah. Well, maybe you can consider having a representative come. I mean, you said you would think about the Zoom. Maybe you can also throw that on the table.
Okay.
Yeah, we can certainly talk about that. Unfortunately, with the COVID thing, it slows down, then it picks up, then it slows down. So when Steve and I did talk about it, we were back up to wearing masks again. And so, I thought the phone things would be fine, but now it seems to be slowing down again. And I have spoken to taxpayers as they've come into the office that they are more than welcome to give me a call and ask me questions. I'm going to do my best to be available to anybody who, wants to come in and talk to me about it. I have been trying to be a little proactive and talking to people as they do come into the office. But as well as, I think the phone will help for some of the residents that don't live around here. And then some of the older folks that maybe are here now can certainly come in and see me. I don't have a problem with that at all. We can certainly add that to the letter if they prefer, and I can set some time aside, in my schedule, a couple of days or maybe a Saturday or something to be at the fire station. I mean, that's something, Steve, Lori, and, and Warner can discuss if that's what the board would prefer. I have no problems being available to the property owners of Kennebunkport.
The concern is that we don't want to overwhelm you when you receive all those notices and client contacts at the same time.
Sure, okay.
And
Yeah.
so I understand that phone calls it's really distracting to hear yourself. It's understandable that phone hearings will work for a lot of people, I think, but I'm thinking even if they could come for a few days or a week and we reserve those in-person meetings for the people who really need them, at least that's an option, and it will hopefully quell fears that people have who need to feel that contact.
I'm fine with that. How do you feel about that, Steve, having somebody?
Yeah, we'll discuss it, right? We'll discuss that going forward.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
No.
Any other? Okay, thank you, Becky and Steve.
Thank you. Anxious to see the results.
Yeah, I know, we all are. We're on 8. Consider an amendment to Chapter 240-714 of the Land Use Ordinance regarding residential rental accommodations or roomers permit. Warner.
So, I'd like to bring this.
Bring that mic up to you.
I'd like to bring this forward for the board's consideration for the November warrant. This has been discussed with the Zoning Board of Appeals. They're the ones that currently review applications for residential rental accommodations. And the proposed amendment is really, I think, is more of an administrative item here, in that, both the board and the code officer are in agreement that we can really just handle this at the code officer level, and that these applications don't really warrant a full, ZBA meeting and hearing. And so the proposed amendment would be exactly that. All the performance standards and everything stays the same, but merely just to change the process in terms of how we deal with the review and issuance to just at the code officer level, and no longer need to engage ZBA for this. So.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Yep.
Any questions? No? We don't make a motion?
You don't need to take action at this time. What we would do is forward the language to the town attorney, and it's fairly simple language, but have them review and bring back to you, and then you could take action and put it on the November ballot.
It sounds like we're all in agreement, so.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Yep.
Number 9, approval of the comprehensive plan for submission to State Review Office. The document can be found at kennebunkport.info/appraisals.
Eli, our comprehensive plan guru, is here to discuss the comp plan with you.
Approval, not appraisal. Sorry, it was supposed to be approval, not appraisal.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you.
Hey, Eli.
So, the comprehensive plan, Kennebunkport 2030, is complete. Hopefully you got a chance to look at the complete volumes 1 and 2, which was the link was included in the packet. And so now begins kind of our process of waiting while the State Review Office does their consistency check versus the Growth Management Act. So tonight we're really just asking for the final approval of the Select Board of the plan. And then Monday morning, we'll be sending that to the Augusta State Review Office. And then we kind of sit and wait for about 3 months.
Or so.
Yeah.
I
You
remember that.
you can follow along a little bit online. They post them as they come in, and for 25 days, members of this community, members of all contiguous communities, state agencies, other municipal officials have an opportunity to comment for 25 days, and then we receive those comments and go from there. I don't know how often that happens, but you
don't
can
know.
you
Yeah, I
can
don't
submit
know.
comments then.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Well, given that, I move that we submit the
Nice job.
comprehensive
Nice
plan to the state for review.
Second.
All in favor?
Long time in coming.
Great.
I
Thanks,
went to
guys.
some of those meetings. You guys put a lot of work into that.
And Eli just has the final document for the chair to sign.
If you don't mind.
Don't drop that on anybody.
That's very precious.
Yeah.
Mel, you might break their foot.
So, just have a cover sheet here. That's your signature.
Should we take a photo?
Yeah.
The boss. Yes.
I'm kidding.
But she would if you wanted.
And she would look great in it.
I think the word now is amazing.
Amazing.
Nice job.
That's what I've been told.
Yeah, probably.
That's so they know how to look up in posterity.
I have to say, I don't agree with everything in it, but it's time to move it on.
But we're not surprised.
In a 700-page document, how could you agree with everything?
I had to add that.
There's a typo on page 601.
Thank you, Mila.
All right. Okay, that's all for me.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, number 10, request for an extension on the existing street opening permit for Colony Avenue by Brex Corporation.
I'm ready to say so moved if anybody has any questions.
Okay. All right, everybody. How's it going? John Martin from the Boughton Hotel Corporation, which is the Colony Hotel. I guess I'll start off. I know we have Brex here who can answer very specific Brex-type questions, which I think we'll get to in a second. And also Bill Walsh is here to go over some gory details of a letter that actually didn't make it in here, I think also with some timeframes that were proposed. But I just wanted to sort of go over the request really quickly. Did everyone got a chance to read it, I assume? Okay, good. So we won't bore you with that part. I think it's important to note that a lot, I've been getting phone calls from our neighbors, which is good. I like talking to them. But it came to my realization quickly that a lot of people don't know there's two things going on Ocean Ave and Colony Ave. That's not only what we're doing, but it's also the water district. And a lot of people didn't know that there's two components to the construction that's going on. And as all of you know, supply chain limitations and some other things, we've waited on our pipe forever. Actually, sorry, the water district waited on their pipe forever. Things started getting pushed and delayed, and we were working in conjunction with the water district. Actually, they've been great to work with. I got to say that Jamie's been really good. None of the things that we're going to talk about here in a minute were proposed by the colony alone. They were proposed with Brex and Jamie from the water district, and we kind of tried to figure out how all to work together. So there's two projects. There's the water change, water main in 3 phases, which we can go, I think you guys all, do you know the phases? Okay, so the Ocean Ave was phase 1, phase 2 was from Ocean Ave, halfway up to the crown of Colony, and then over the crown towards South Main was phase 3. And what we realized due to ledge and pipe delays and everything else was that we were gonna be probably doing the lower part of Colony Ave, which we thought would be the biggest challenge in the middle, maybe even into July. And so that started being a problem. So we started talking about changing the phases. So actually what's happened, and you've seen it, has been Ocean Ave was first, went over the hump, over to South Main, where we thought that would be a little easier. And we're actually wrapping that part up with the idea to continue on in the fall with phase 2, which is going to be the biggest challenge. So that's where we are. Now, we are asking to extend the opening so that we can come back in the fall and start that work. So I think, I don't know, if we've got some specific dates that would work for, they're kind of based out of what the Water District would like to do. We're trying to figure out how we can do it in conjunction to prep things for them. Do you have any questions for me, or are there questions we should turn over to the pros over there who know what they're doing?
My concern is the road.
Yes.
And how it's going to be driven on this summer. And I understand the situation of not wanting to surface it, but.
Yeah, no, I get it. So
think
luckily, Ocean Ave will be paved. I think it's scheduled
Right.
to be paved the week of the 13th. Okay, so that's great, because I think what I'm finding is 4 out of 5 or 8 out of 10 calls I get are usually about Ocean Ave. And I'm like, hey, that's coming, we're wrapped up, that's gonna be paved. And I think we're gonna see a majority of the phone calls and the problems kind of dissipate at that point. The reason for not putting a skim coat from Colony up over is because we're gonna tear that back up as soon as we can get back in. The proposal is to put reclaim down and compact it.
That we understand.
Yes.
And, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
However, who is going to take care of the road
Yep.
through the summer?
Great question. Yep.
Because the town is not going to.
No, not at all. We don't anticipate that. So I can tell you, I'm gonna monitor it 7 days a week, because I drive over it every day. We also have lined up Brex, and he can speak to that, to do weekly. He'll drive by every week, but at any point in time, we answer the phones 24 hours a day at the hotel. They can get me, and I can get either Right Ryan or Brex on the phone, and we get right down there, whether we need to put water down, or what was that white stuff you put down? Calcium. Calcium, thank you. I asked about that the other day. We can put calcium down and water it, or whatever we need to do to make sure that we want it to be the best driving experience for anybody, not only going to the hotel, but also going to, the whole South Main Street. We get a lot of traffic. We all know that. So.
I got a question.
Sure.
Why are we putting calcium down on reground asphalt?
It's to keep, I think, the dust down. I'm gonna let the
Why
pros
are we
talk about it.
having dust if you're gonna put a compacted asphalt down?
Well,
Why
there's been
we
a lot
have-
of construction motion out there. When it turns into just regular traffic, I don't think we're gonna have the same problem. But I was asking why what to put down to keep any dust down.
See, my preference is that you pave it the right way. And so, when I was looking at this, I've been down this road before in Dover, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work well. So, I just have a concern that where you're gonna be fighting dust, we're gonna have complaints, and that maybe you don't react, I don't know, as fast as maybe we would, and we're not gonna do it.
No,
So,
I
so,
don't anticipate
yeah.
you would.
So, that's my concern. I'll do what the board pleases, and the majority want to do, but my preference would be that it's done right. If you have to dig it up, you have to dig it up. I know it costs money, but there's a big inconvenience to the people of Kennebunkport and to your guests. And that brought up my second question. So, first of all, I like the project overall, don't get me wrong, and I understand construction, stuff, but what about the parking that you're losing?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Where are you gonna park everybody?
Well, luckily, what's gonna happen is we're coming online some parking in the side there.
In the-
But we also have run into parking, like last weekend, we had a parking problem, and we had offered parking at 144 Ocean Avenue, which we own the house right next door. We
Yeah.
had a whole lot that sat empty while people elected to park on Colony. Luckily, Chief came out and posted it so we can get people off the road where they're not supposed to be, and we don't propose that coming down. We like nobody parking on that side of the road. So people were like double parked out there. We tried to stop them, but Yeah,
Yeah,
they weren't parking where we had assigned parking for them.
So there's not going to be any parking where the lot was across the street this summer, correct, because of construction?
We could get occupancy on the first, and Warner, you could speak to this, when we get occupancy over on the market building with the upper paved area.
Yeah, where you got the big, yeah.
Once we can get, well, we have to have occupancy, we have to have life safety issues and things
Yeah, yeah,
resolved.
yeah.
But that should be available also.
So John, I'm going to ask you to come back to the mic.
Oh, sorry,
'cause
yes.
the
And then
people
there's
at home-
also, so there's 11 spots there, and then there's 10 spots down on Ocean Avenue, which could become available also, where we have the curb break.
Right.
I have concerns about opening that up without being down there to monitor it, because it will just be parking for non-Colony Hotel people. I don't know. We're going to look at that one.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I see some people going in to park at the beach for the day.
Right.
And Government Wharf and all
Yeah.
those places, so.
Yeah, I had 10 people park in my parking lot and then walk right into town the other day.
Did you-
I didn't see them for 2 hours.
Hey, welcome, the library faces that all the time.
Oh, I bet, exactly. But I think I wanted to talk to the first point you brought up. The times that we're talking about now are, we're thinking, I think, that we might be getting back into it in September. Is that when the Water District wants to come back? So if we're paving it, we're talking about it being paved for something like 2 months or 3 months, or July, August, September. They'll be right back tearing that up in September, so just an idea.
So I have a question.
Sure.
On this reclaimed asphalt, now there
Yep.
shouldn't be really any dust if you're gonna put the reclaim down.
I'm gonna actually go to the pro if you want. Do you want to do your magic? He'll tell you all about. He'll know more about reclaim than I will ever know.
Okay.
All right, cool.
So yeah, so reclaim's like a recycled asphalt, so it's got an asphalt.
Can you speak into the mic, please? Thank you.
It's got a residual asphalt in it, so after a couple hot days, a couple treatments of calcium, that should solidify right up, and you shouldn't see any. You should see minimal potholes and minimal dust.
What about the oil residue from the asphalt that's been compacted?
We've never come across any oil residue when we
So
use it.
where are you going to not have the sidewalk available up on the top part? People are going to be walking in that road, correct?
We have So we have allocated a spot where there wasn't a sidewalk prior to, where we're going to compact and have a walking area on the side of the road.
All the way up?
All the way up and over to the other entrance. I think, where do we have that? Right to the other,
Okay.
the easterly entrance, if you want to think about it.
So
And
that-
we're continuing the what was existing there from the corner up to our current entrance, where it was, the way it was before.
okay.
Yep. But we're going to have a new walking area that wasn't there, where the wall was, if you know
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
That
yeah.
wall's gone, painfully. So that's where you'll see a flattened area right now. Yep.
The hay bales are gone and gonna be
We're keeping the hay bales until we get it compacted right, so there's no washout.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to watch for erosion. And this also brings up another good question. What came up the other day is that our rainwater, which Bill can talk to if you ask him, our rainwater management will be online now. So if anyone's driven the road, you know where that stop sign is. There's a pile of rocks at the bottom of the hill from my old dirt parking lot. That's going to be working this year. So we won't see all that runoff coming off the old dirt parking lot. Will now be contained into a retention pond, and
So
then
won't be getting Ocean Avenue at all?
it won't be coming out. No, we're saying a whole different direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good.
But that's going to be online this year.
Good.
Okay, cool. Great.
Thank you.
Did anyone, come on, let's drill Bill for a little, no, he doesn't want
No,
to.
we're good. I'm good.
Does the board want any recommendation from their Director of Public Works?
Chris, you got an opinion?
Yeah, so we met Monday afternoon to discuss this at length with them. Given, I think the constraints that they've been dealing with, their work was dependent on KKW getting
Sure.
their work done. So I think there were some things that were beyond their control. There were some things that were beyond KKW's control. At this point, I think what they're proposing for a base with the recycled asphalt is about as good as it gets. When we reclaim a road in town, it's the same base that we use.
How thick does that go down?
So I don't remember how thick the paving was on Colony Avenue when they started cutting that up, but I think it was pretty thick in places, 4 or 5 inches thick. So, there'll be a substantial base to it, given what they're dealing with. I think it's about the best product that they're going to be able to use for now. And as long as it's maintained through the summer months, I mean, that was my concern when I met with them on Monday. I can tell you that, you know, at least in the amount of time that I've been dealing with them in the new position, Brex, Bill, and John have been, you know, responsive to anything that I've asked for. So I don't really have any concerns at this point that that's going to become a problem. And we did discuss, you know, the maintenance not coming back on the Public Works Department for the summer. So I feel confident they're going to take care of that. They are going to provide me with a 24-hour contact. So if something were to come up on a holiday weekend or a long weekend, I'll have somebody that I can get in touch with, and they can, you know, mobilize somebody to come out and take care of that. So I don't have any issues with what they're proposing.
Okay, good.
I had about a half an hour long conversation today with Mark Brown, the owner of Brex, and he had actually called me. We went to high school together, so he knew me, and he reached out to see if that we had any concerns. And I said, of course, I can only speak for myself. So I talked to him, and it sounded like that between his company and John, you guys had it pretty well worked out that you know, there wouldn't be issues with the road degrading that they couldn't handle in a timely manner. And as far as paving the road and then ripping it up, you know, this board spent a lot of time talking about climate change and the environment, et cetera, and that just seems redundant, or just it doesn't make any sense to me to do that. So I'm willing to make a motion that we extend the permit until the fall so they can resume work on Colony Ave.
All right, I'll second that.
With the understanding that they will maintain it
Yes, I didn't
and
say that?
take responsibility for the maintenance of the road. Yep.
Thank you.
And that's good with you.
Anything Bill Walsh wants to say on record that we can play back later? No?
Then we'll take the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so we have a unanimous vote. Thank you.
Good
You
luck.
guys are all set.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We didn't get a very good turnout as.
When there's nobody here, it means less complaints.
Exactly. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. And we're on 11, accept donations. I'm going to talk into this. Accept donations dedicated to the nurses' general account. $30 from Diane Temple in memory of Carol Chamberlain, and $250 from Marilyn Harris in memory of Carolyn Chamberlain.
So moved.
Second.
And all in favor?
Thank you very much.
Now I'm doing it.
With much appreciation. And we will go on to other business. And I would like to recognize our own Patrick Briggs tonight. This will be Pat's last meeting as a selectman, as he is not seeking to run again. He has served the town since 2013. Seems like a long time ago, doesn't it? And has been a strong addition to our board. He has been on various committees, but the one that stands out to me is the Heritage Housing Trust. He was so instrumental in its success that the committee named one of the streets after him. So if you drive up to Cape Porpoise and go by the police station and then look to your left, you'll see Briggs Way on the street sign. So you will forever be a part of our town, Pat. And we would like to present this to you as a gift from us.
Beautiful. We'll see it, Pat. There you go.
Can we all be in it?
Yeah.
Oh, Alan, watch your foot there.
I'm gonna try.
This is the only way I'm going to keep my hands off Sheila.
Can't say that anymore.
I know.
Okay, say Kennebunkport.
Cheese.
And then I'll get a close-up of you, Pat. Good.
Thank you.
Very well.
He's got the Sheldon face. You
Yeah,
watch The Big
yeah.
Bang Theory, the TV show. Sheldon has his faces.
No, I wanna,
You're
I wanna,
you're gonna be the chairman? We'll reappoint you.
what I'd like to do is thank everyone on the board. It's been a pleasure working with you. We've worked together, we've accomplished a great deal,
Yes, we
and I
have.
think the town is better for it. So,
I
my
would like to
time-
think so.
No, you know, I think the time spent here was most interesting in my life. And it's a kind of a job, it's unique. And, you know, when they told me I was the overseer of the poor, I thought, oh, what else can happen, you know? I got 4 sons, you know, do I need more? But anyway, it worked out very well, and I have enjoyed it very much. I'm gonna miss you guys. But sometimes in the middle of the winter, when we go down there and look at these piers, sightings, I'm not gonna miss that.
No,
I'll
no.
be quite honest with you, okay?
In the snow.
Anyway, so
in the
thank you
rain.
very much. Appreciate Pat, it. it's been
great working with you. Absolutely. We've had
Sure has.
It was mutual.
And we'll be seeing each other.
Oh, yeah.
Once a
Yeah.
month anyway.
I know you'll come down to the Charter House for a piece of pie. I know
For
that.
sure. You can bet on it.
And other business, Pat, do you have any other business?
No, I don't. I was going to say goodbye, but I think we have just taken care of that little number. So I have no more business, and thank you again, guys. Gonna miss you.
We're
Thanks, Pat.
gonna miss you. Mike, do you have anything?
No, I have nothing.
No,
Alan?
absolutely nothing.
I have nothing left.
I'd just like to say goodbye to Pat formally. He and I came onto the board at about the same time, and it won't be the same without you, Pat.
Thank you.
No, it's really been, I think the 5 of us have
Worked
done
well.
very well
Yes.
working together. And yes, we're gonna miss you, so.
Well, I do want to say one last thing, and I know that Ed is next up as chairman. So the only advice I've got for you is channel Stu Barwise,
I work on it every day.
because you can't work with a better guy than Stu.
I know.
We all miss him, as you
We
know.
do.
So, thank you, guys.
And Lori, other business?
I'm all set. I just would like for the town clerk to remind people that elections are on Tuesday, June 14th, and absentee balloting is closed at this point, but you can come down here to the Village Fire Station from 8 to 8.
I'll move the warrants.
Second.
All in favor?
I'm gonna say aye.
Well, we can all say aye. And then,
Pat has one more thing.
oh, Pat,
I move for adjournment.
Second.
That's good.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And thank you, everyone.
So we off?
We are.